let's talk about 26 picks. In fact, we'll give you some players that we think you should just go ahead and trade away for 26 first-round picks. But we've gotten some questions about 2026 picks, and not exactly sure why. But people have been asking us about buying 26 first and if that's even a good idea at this point. And let's give you a couple rules here. Let's start by just saying this before we tell you the players that we're moving for 26 first. The rules for trading for rookie picks that are a year out, especially, you know, like a true year out, right? Like they are right now. Never assume they're early. Always assume they're late. Obviously, you know, there are some exceptions to those rules, right?
Yes.
We look now at team reviews and you can clearly see if there's a team that's absolutely in the toilet from a value standpoint.
They'll have three first and we're like, don't move that first, you can move that
You can move this instead. So you can look and project, but not every first. Keep in mind, there are only really 3 early first. Only 3 people can have top 3 first. Only 1 person can have the 101. We're talking about this with 27. Only 1 person's getting Jeremiah Smith. You're trading for a 1 in 12 shot. And so that's true with 2026 picks, but be careful how you project them and don't be calling late first, early first. That's basically the rule I want to talk about there. We've had people ask, hey, this is a valid question that I want to answer. Are 26 picks still worth trading for because of the weakness of the class? And can I say this? Weakness of the class. I don't care if the class is weak, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter to my Dynasty team if the class is weak, and here's why. You're not trading for the player. You're not trading for the rookie prospects in 2026. You're not doing that. The reason you are trading for 2026 picks is because you are trading for the asset that is not only value insulated, but is guaranteed to go up in value, even in a bad class. Every single year is either the worst class ever or the best class ever, period. And the fact of the matter is, we're pretty much always in between. Like, oh, this class has some weaknesses and it has some strengths. You don't have to come out and say the 26 class sucks and it's the worst class ever. Who cares? Because you're not playing Dynasty. You're not buying 26 prospects right now, a year out. You don't know who they are, first of all. But second of all, you're buying the pick and the pick goes up in value. The pick's going to go up in value. And here's the thing. Even though 27s are awesome and great and every league is different, 26s are going to be more valuable than 27s in the offseason next year before the rookie draft because they are this year's picks. Never have I ever seen in a Dynasty rookie draft season picks for the current year where the draft is within months be sold at a discount for picks the next year. I have never once seen it, and you will not see it in 26. And you can save the receipts, bookmark it, save the link, set a timer, remind you on your phone. It won't happen. It never has happened. It never will happen. And that makes them better assets. And so, no, we're still trading for 26 first. We still will buy 26 first, especially on rebuilds, reloads, because they're gonna go up in value. You're not buying the class. You don't have to take the rookie. You're buying the asset and the value inflation and the value win.
The prospects are different assets than the picks. Prospects and picks are different in Dynasty. Get this right, guys. Prospects and picks are different assets in Dynasty. You worry about the prospects after the draft. You worry about those specific rookies, and you can worry about the class and the talent of the class and after they went in the draft, after the NFL draft next season, okay? So starting with the players that we would move for 26 first, because like we said, we are still moving players for 26 first. We're going to go with Zay Flowers here. I like Zay Flowers. I've liked Zay Flowers since he was a prospect in the 23 class. Zay Flowers has not been a wide receiver 2 even so far in his career. And in the first 2 years of his career, he's been wide receiver 31 and wide receiver 25. And you're like, okay, well, what about points per game? Okay, in points per game, it's been worse. 12.3 points per game in 2024, 12.9 points per game in 2023. He actually went down in points per game this past season. And I'm just telling you guys, it's the way that the Ravens operate their offense and the way that they utilize their passing game, which is very effective for Lamar Jackson. But Lamar, this is a huge point here. Lamar Jackson threw for 41 touchdowns in 2024. Better by far than any other season he's ever played. I guess his MVP season in 2020 or 2019 was really good. He had 36 touchdowns. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He threw for 4,100 yards, had 474 passing attempts. The best possible passing year that you could dream of for Lamar Jackson, and Zay Flowers was a high-end wide receiver 3, a mid-wide receiver 3 in points per game. This is not an indictment on Zay Flowers, the talent. I like Zay Flowers, the talent. I really do. It's the usage, and it's where they like to get the ball to Zay Flowers, and his skill set in terms of and how it translates to fantasy production that I think are a big knock on what his value upside is going to be long term. He honestly has kind of fluctuated a lot this offseason in terms of value because people don't really know how to navigate his price at the moment. But he's well past that teardrop off of wide receivers of like Higgins and Rashee Rice and debatably Odunze, where it's like after that, there's not a big competitive advantage between owning Devontae Adams and owning Zay Flowers. There is in terms of like, their age, obviously, but even like you go to Devontae Smith versus Jerry Jeudy or Jameson Williams or DJ Moore, who are going like multiple rounds apart. There's not that much of a difference in production upside. Zay Flowers is kind of right in the middle of that big fat tier. And his red zone targets last year, he was 59th among wide receivers in red zone targets, had 8, and he hauled in 4. Those 4 that he hauled in were all touchdowns. You know what that tells me? That tells me that Zay Flowers is only scoring touchdowns when he's getting red zone targets, and he's not getting a lot of red zone targets. And think about it from a skill set perspective. When you see Zay Flowers get the ball between the 20s, not inside the 20, but between the 20s, which is where they like to utilize him quite a bit, does he have a ridiculous amount of yak ability? Yes. He was 10th in the league in yak last year, 463 yards. Does he have breakaway speed ability? No. He's very shifty. He can juke you out. He'll psych you out. But he doesn't have the big playability that you would hope for a guy where most of his usage is coming between the 20s. It's not coming in the red zone. He's not getting those red zone opportunities, guys. 59th among wide receivers. So when you take away the touchdown opportunity, that's all going to Andrews and the running backs and Rashad Bateman, apparently, then you're left with a guy who's getting 110 to 120 targets per year, where he hauls in about 60% of those for about 1,000 yards and less than ideal touchdowns, which is low-end wide receiver 2 production to high-end wide receiver 3 production. All that to say, when you're looking at the 26 class next year, you can say, oh, well, the wide receivers are weaker than we've ever seen. You don't know that. Number 2, look at the class this year. Look at the class the year before that. Look at the class in 2023. Look at the class in 2022 and the late first-round picks that were going there. Where was their startup value? If you're moving Zay Flowers for worst-case scenario, a late first, RJ Harvey was a late first-round pick this year. Colson Loveland was an early second-round pick this year. Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka this year. This was a class where not a lot of people thought it was super strong. Some people were lower on the class. Those guys were there, and almost all of them are ranked over Zay Flowers in his current price right now. I'm telling you guys, next year, you're going to be very happy that you moved Zay Flowers for a 26 first if you can pull it off, and I know you can, and maybe even get a little plus on top.
So you can get a mid-first, and those mid-firsts never go any lower than like the 5th, 6th round.
They do
ever.
not.
They never do. The late first, the lowest they ever go is 7th, 8th round at Dynasty startups. Kenneth Walker. And so, look.
Hey, we had him on here last year.
We did have him on here last year?
Yeah, for 25 first.
And so if you did that, if you traded him for a 25 first, you got, at worst, RJ Harvey or Caleb Johnson.
Or a value equivalent.
That's a win. But even if they are, which I actually think they have a little bit more value.
I prefer them.
Heavily.
Worst case, they are market value equivalent.
And so now we do the same thing with the same guy, same year, 2026. And yes, I told you last year, Kenneth Walker's never really done anything. From a fantasy perspective, he's never really done anything because he'd averaged 13 points per game both of his 2 years. And what did he do last year? He came out and averaged 16 points per game, which is obviously a big step in the right direction. And the reason really he did that was because he, in 11 games had more receptions and receiving yards than he had in 15 games in each of the previous season. But the little thing I just said right there is kind of one of the main issues. 15 games, 11 games. Kenneth Walker's got to stay on the field, and he's not. And here's the other thing about this. Kenneth Walker, let's look at his efficiency metrics from his first 3 years in the NFL, okay? So first of all, last year he was, 12th in snap share, 11th in opportunity share, 32nd in rushing yards, 21st in receiving yards as well, 12th in receptions though, which is nice, 24th in fantasy points per opportunity. The nice things here with Kenneth Walker, 4th in target share. But that's really where it stops, right? Because the yards per out run, not good, so he wasn't efficient as a receiver. He's 57th in true yards per carry. He's 41st in yards per touch. He's 5th in juke rate, so he's got that going for him, but 39th in explosive rating, 32nd in explosive runs, 24th in yards created, 13th in yards created per touch, so that's a decent metric. But when you're looking even at the years before, none of these metrics jump off the page. Kenneth Walker hasn't been good. Sure, he's been fine. Sure, he's a fine starting NFL running back. Sure, if he wants to start on my team, perfect. But he's not a difference maker in Dynasty. He's just not. Even though last year when he was on the field, he was. The problem was he wasn't on the field in the playoffs. And so he didn't win you a Dynasty League last year. He's never won. Kenneth Walker has never won you a Dynasty League. And if you sold him, like Nathan said, you got a better running back this year. And really, with Kenneth Walker, you can still, in my opinion, get a mid-26 first for him from a contender, and I'm doing that all day because I think that when push comes to shove, next year, the other nice thing is that, you might say, oh, Kenneth Walker, they finally utilize him as a receiving back, and so that raises his floor. That's great. New offense. They changed it. Again, that offense that he was getting all that, they fired their offensive coordinator, right? So with Walker, I mean, you really would have to make a pretty bold case that he's going to be a high upside receiving back consistently, not to mention I watched every single one of those early Seahawks games with Kenneth Walker because he was on my Flock League team, and so I was highly invested in Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's production when I was watching it, I never got the sense that it was going to be sustainable, ever. I really didn't. And that was from somebody who desperately wanted him to be a sustainable producer because he was my lead.
Didn't you shop him?
He was
you were trying to offload him, weren't you?
I never ended up doing it because Mason wanted him, and I freaking told Mason to screw off. But he was my league winner. I got him in the 7th round of my fantasy football draft, like the Flock League draft. So I was rooting heavily for Kenneth Walker, and I genuinely, this is part analytics, which I have a very good analytical case here. Make me an analytical argument that he's a difference maker in fantasy football. Do it. And you can't. You literally can't, and it doesn't matter, and I will tell you it doesn't matter because he did not play in the playoffs last year, and that matters. Durability matters. He's had the same abdomen or oblique, whatever it is, injury 50 times now. It matters, guys. And so with Walker, I just think you're going to end up, it's less of a Walker taking more of a value play. I think the value for a rebuild or reload who has Kenneth Walker, you sell him to contender, get there mid-late first, and I think the player you get next year and the value inflation you're getting is a safer bet for anybody who's in a rebuild or reload. And again, we can tell you if you're in a rebuild or reload because we're doing this all the time. We're giving you your team archetype and your 3-year outlook so you know which players you should buy and sell on your team. And honestly, every single one of these is team archetype and 3-year outlook dependent. And so we can give you yours, flockfantasy.com/domain, code domain. It's going to unlock everything, but the annual Mother Flocker tier actually comes with a free blueprint and infinite blueprint and update on your blueprint every single month. So 13 team reviews for the price of a membership, and you also get everything that comes with the membership. That doesn't include the stuff on the site. We're building out new tools all the time, our rankings, trade calculator, all of it, and our exclusive Discord. So you can take advantage of that. Links in the comment if you want to join. But again, you can get a team blueprint. We can tell you which of the guys on your team you should be trading for 26 first, if you should be trading for them at all. Because a lot of times we don't recommend trading for 26 first.
Yeah. So Terry McLaurin is going to be our next guy here, and I think this one's pretty easy. He's 29 years old. He's going to be going on 30. This is going to be the last time that you're going to have a chance to get a first-round pick for Terry McLaurin. I think the biggest thing with him is that they didn't go with a wide receiver this year in the draft, which kind of helps him sustain and maintain his value for the next 9 months. This is your last opportunity to get a first for Terry McLaurin. If you can't do it now, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to do it in the season when he's doing exactly what he's been doing for the last 6 years at the NFL level. He has been one of the most consistently mid-wide receivers in the NFL, which is neither good nor bad. I mean, it's been good depending on what price you got him at. It was great last season when he actually finished as a wide receiver 1. In points per game, he was a high-end wide receiver 2. But the dude, since he was a rookie in 2019, 900 yards, 1,100 yards, 1,000 yards, 1,100, 1,000, 1,100 yards. 82 receptions, 79, 77, 77, 87, 58. Targets, 93, 134, 130, 120, 130, 117. So what was the difference in his massive jump in production this year? 13 touchdowns. He had 13 touchdowns. And the best quarterback that he's ever had in his entire career in Washington. So, I mean, if you want to count on the 13 touchdowns staying because Daniels is there, I can't.
It's not a bad bet.
I can't argue it, but I also can't argue it too much because I'm like, yeah, okay, like that's more sustainable now than it's ever been because Daniels is a great quarterback. He can absolutely help Terry get that again because Terry is the alpha. He's the top option there. I don't think Debo's going to hurt his production. But all I'm saying is with this production upside this season for a contender, they would honestly be out of their mind to not pay their late 26 first for Terry in the middle of the season if they really need that when he's doing this production-wise.
When you a league.
And you would be crazy as a reload or a rebuild not to take it. And honestly, even if you're a contender right now, like just take the 26 first at the moment if you can, and then you can move it for an asset that I think is going to maintain value longer than Terry is going to.
This will shock you. I still have shares of Justin Fields. The one that I took in the 4th round, I never got rid of because I'm like, I'm going to hold him until, now, because I do think you're starting to get first round prices for Justin Fields. And I think in season, if he pops off, I think you're definitely going to get
when he drops 30 points, people will pay.
If you can get a 26 first for Justin Fields, I will take it all day, every day. And this includes a couple other quarterbacks in this range. You can throw Sam Darnold in this conversation. I would take a 26 first for Darnold pretty much all day. When you're looking at his contract, he is under contract for 2 years, which, that's great. But he's getting paid $20 million a year. And so let's be honest about a $20 million a year salary. It's not terrible backup money, but it's also not high-end starter money by any means. And, he's probably going to be on the roster for the next 2 years regardless. And so whether or not they draft a QB in next year's QB heavy class, I don't really care about. I just know that Justin Fields, even when he is on the field, is hit or miss in terms of his production. When he's on, he's a top 5 quarterback from a fantasy perspective. When he's off, he's a bottom 20. I mean, like legit. Or bottom 10. So there's so much volatility there with it. I just also long term, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. We talked plenty about Justin Fields. You know how we feel about Justin Fields, and I think this is a pretty good market play. If you can just sell Fields for a first, I would do it right now.
James Cook up next here. I guess we're going to be branded as the James Cook haters. I really don't want it to be viewed that way because, again, at a certain price, you can take a shot on James Cook. There have been some startup drafts that we've done in the last couple of months where James Cook has fallen to a point where we're like, oh my gosh, I might have to take him, unfortunately. But I will say that's a pretty low price point. I think James Cook is going to settle to a low enough price point, maybe even next season where it's worth taking him. Right now, I don't think it's worth it where he's generally going, and that is at mid-26 first prices. And Cook's going into the 4th year of his deal, and Buffalo doesn't look like they're planning on extending him anytime soon. They clearly have not prioritized that. And honestly, I mean, why would they? I mean, you're looking at his production profile over the last couple of seasons. Rookie year, he was a rookie, splitting time with some other guys there, and it took a little time for him to develop. 2023 is really where he broke out. He finishes a running back 12 and only 6 touchdowns. He had 1,100 rushing yards, 54 targets, 445 receiving yards. And then you look this year and you're like, oh my gosh, holy touchdown jump, 18 touchdowns. That was like twice what he scored in 2022 and 2023 combined in the end zone. 18. I mean, that's one heck of a jump. So you're like, okay, is that one heck of a jump because he turned into an elite running back, or is that one heck of a jump because you're going to expect it to maybe go back down and regress back to average production? That might be what you see this year. And production aside, guys, there's, again, like I said earlier, there's no long-term guarantee that he's going to be a Buffalo Bill, which is objectively the best situation that you would want to see James Cook in long-term, and we just don't have that guarantee. We don't have that guarantee. And for a guy whose insulation was really not only tied to that situation, but also his receiving upside and capabilities, why did his receiving production get cut in half? Someone explain that to me. Seriously, I'm like looking at this right now, and I'm like, geez Louise. Why did that happen? Because it's not like he got any more efficient on the ground. He went from 4.7 to 4.8 yards per carry between 23 and 24. The touchdowns obviously went up, so that efficiency, I guess, went up, but that's more volatile. The receiving stuff is a big concern because if those touchdowns do go down, if you're on the side of, oh, his touchdowns are going to regress quite a bit, you better hope that his targets and receptions are going to go up next year and his yards in the air, because they went down big time last year. I mean, that's grounds for a lot of potential regression if you're going to count on his touchdowns going down. So with James Cook, again, very, very similar to someone like Zay Flowers, but at the running back position, you're like, okay, what's this mid-26 first going to be worth next year when James Cook has the likelihood to fall to like the 6th, 7th, 8th round in startup drafts? 6 would be ideal. 8th round is probably more likely for his price range next year in startups. Like that 26 first is going to be more valuable than him.
Moving on to George Pickens, who I think actually has a pretty good chance of being a high upside flex play for this year, which is why I think we've told people multiple times to buy George Pickens on Blueprints, but I honestly think he's a hold, if anything. I will say this, though. If you're not contending, I mean, George Pickens really, even if he doesn't lose value, which I think he probably is going to maintain or lose value, even if he doesn't lose a ton of value, I think you're going to get a higher upside player in 2026 than George Pickens. He's going to an offense now where he's going to be the wide receiver 2 in Dallas. We obviously haven't seen him play alongside CeeDee Lamb, and I think it's a great situation. But I'm not sure that the scenarios in which George Pickens increases in values are plentiful. And so with that, I think that a 2026 first, if you're rebuilding or reloading, is going to have a higher percentage of being a boom than a George Pickens on a rebuild or a reload roster. And so with Pickens, right now he's going in that late first range, right? He was going, pretty much equivalent to a late first last year as well. I think it's pretty achievable, and you could also wait to sell him mid-season. Although this is one where I'm not necessarily like opposed to selling him now, because we're not like he's not a veteran. We're not really waiting for that. He had his best year of his career last year with the Steelers, but 11.7 points per game. He actually had less points per game in 2023 than he did in 2020 or in 2024 than he did in 2023. He's never, in his first 3 years, he's never finished higher than wide receiver 35 in points per game.
Yeah, and like you said, he's very boom best. I mean, he averages probably 5 big booms a year.
5 big booms, huh?
5 big booms.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so 5 big booms for George Pickens. And, you know, honestly, this is kind of a boomer doom, and we're kind of dooming on Pickens. But again, as a rebuild reload, I would pivot off of Pickens for sure.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy, same sort of story here. I mean, Jeudy honestly showed better upside than George Pickens last year. But did he really, or was that just the Jameis Winston upside? There's no more Jameis Winston there. Flacco's going to be there. Dylan Gabriel's there. Shedeur Sanders is there. The names are a lot more valuable than the actual production and upside that those guys are going to offer. And with Jerry Jeudy at I think 26 years old, he's still surprisingly young for a guy who's been in the league for I think like 5 years at this point. Again, breakout year last season. Got to give him his respect. Got to show him his flowers. I'm really happy for him that he was able to finally do this. But at the end of the day in Dynasty, I mean, I don't think anyone would deny that that's just that's a good play. That's a good market play if you can do that and go get a late 26 first for him. If it's possible in your league, not going to be possible in everyone's league, just go ahead and do that. He can't move up boards much further than he's currently being ranked right now because of the situation. And then again, people just bake into the fact his age. So even if he gets an extension somewhere else at 27 years old next year or gets traded, you're like, do I really want that? Or just go re-roll on a first. So
odds are the quarterback that you're able to select at the pick you trade Tua Tagovailoa for is going to be a better quarterback than Tua, or a higher value quarterback than Tua.
Yeah.
I mean, this year, even in a quarterback class where it was, yes, very weak, Jackson Dart is already almost as valuable as Tua.
That's a great point.
And so
he's valued higher than
so that honestly, this is a no-brainer. If you can move Tua for a 26 first, you're going to get a better quarterback because the quarterbacks, it's a much deeper quarterback class, much more high upside. You are still going to have quarterbacks that fall, given the nature of how these drafts goes in. You do still have some players that you look at 2026 and you're happy with. I would absolutely trade Tua for a 26 first, and I like Tua for a contending team, but especially if you rebuild or reload, take a singular first for him, and I think you're gonna, I think it'll pay off. So
yeah.
Again, these are mostly market plays. If you don't agree, you don't have to do this. And yes, in this video last year, most of the guys we told you to trade for a first paid off. We had Pacheco on there. We had Deshaun Watson on there. We had Calvin Ridley on there. Who was the other guy, the main guy we had on there? Somebody else. I don't know. And so we're really just taking the guys that have uncertain situations. And most of the time, they pay. We had Kenneth Walker on there, by the way.
Yeah, so it was Walker and Pacheco were the two stars of the show.
So really, I mean, again, there are chances that these don't pay off. But honestly, I don't think any of these players have the upside to where it's going to like totally bite us in the butt. So, and again, know your team. You're not trading George Pickens for a first on every single team. If you're contending, it might only be if you have the value to do that, and you can just stack first. So you need to know your team, know your league. And so again, we can help you do that. You can get a team blueprint. Nathan and I can look at your team, give you a full roster review, give you a team archetype, your 3-year outlook, and tell you which moves to make specifically for your team. So the link's down in the comments for that. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching today, and we will see you later.